This video is brought to you from the salesman.org HubSpot studio. Do you want to know the simplest, most effective way to deal with most sales objections? Well, it's called the ignore method, and I'm going to explain exactly how to use it in this video, so stay tuned. When selling complex products to business buyers, it's very likely that they're going to give you at least a few objections before they agree to the sale. Sam hears objections like, I need to speak to my manager, I'm not sure if we've got the budget, and the obvious one, you probably get this all the time, can you just send me a bit of info in an email? He gets these objections all of the time. Often though, these sales objections are just automatic responses from a buyer. They throw out the objection without really thinking about it. So let me very quickly explain how you can essentially ignore all of these small objections to keep the sales process moving forward. Let's go to the whiteboard. So I want you to think of the ideal sales conversation as a straight line going from point A to point B. And every time that an objection comes up, well, the buyer is trying to derail you in a different direction. There's multiple reasons why they might want to do this. They might want to just buy themselves some more time. They might have many other worries, and so they want to take you out of your ideal A to B conversation. And some of this is subconscious as well. They're going to throw objection at you without actually thinking about what the objection is. And your job as a B2B sales professional is to bring things back on track and continue down to get to point B. So you can either close the next meeting, close the sale, close something at the end of your phone call or meeting. So let's say you're on a call with a buyer and they turn around and say, we just don't have the budget for this project. So unless you're multiple steps into the B2B buying process, they've no idea if they've got budget or not. They've no idea if they can find budget. And so this is very likely an automated sales objection that we can use the ignore method on. So what we're going to say is something along the lines of, hey, let's make a note of that and we'll come back to it in a minute and we'll get back on track with the conversation. Then carry on the conversation, and 9 times out of 10, the objection will be dealt with as you go through the rest of the sales process. If they do have an issue with budget, well, it'll crop up again and you can deal with it in the future. If it was truly an automated sales objection, and you say, hey, look, let's make a note of it and we'll come back to it later on. Again, 9 times out of 10, they forget about this objection that they threw up because it wasn't real, and you get to just carry on with the sales conversation without trying to diffuse this, without trying to beat it head on. Just ignore it and move past it. The ignore method to dealing with sales objections is literally as simple as that. So let's say Harry turns around to Sam on a call and says, hey, we've worked with your company in the past and it didn't work out. Now, this seems like a pretty heavy objection. Well, Sam can ignore this objection, go back to the sales process by saying something along the lines of, hey, well, that's a shame. How about we circle back to what went wrong in a minute? Right now, we can talk about X, Y, Z, and he carries on the sales process. So we're just pushing constantly towards point B, from point A to point B with our calls, with our meetings. Again, you're going to find once you get closer or at this point B of closing the deal, closing the conversation, booking the next meeting, you're going to have more rapport with the buyer. There's going to be more trust with them. And if this original objection crops back up again, or if you want to proactively bring it back up again and derail the conversation yourself, you can say, hey, Harry, you mentioned earlier on that you were concerned with dealing with our company in the past. Is this still the case? And now that you've had a bit more time with the buyer, you've built that rapport, that trust. Often these objections, they just beat themselves because, again, most of them are automated and the buyer doesn't really believe that they're a true objection in the first place. They're just trying to derail the conversation slightly because they're worried about something, they're concerned about that the deal is moving too fast, that it's not moving fast enough. So your job in B2B sales isn't to counter every objection, isn't to beat every objection, isn't to be a smart ass and have a counter for every single objection that comes up. Most of the time, it's just, hey, let's put that on the back burner for the moment. Let's continue on with our conversation and we'll revisit it at the end of the conversation if we need to. So there we have it. The ignore method is how I deal with about 90% of the sales objections that I face day in, day out working over at salesman.org. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And why not click one of the videos that are on the screen right now to continue making selling simple.